Here we have another meeting. I hope you guys. Okay. I think we can try this one. So when you guys are when you are here, you let me know so I don't just go on without you guys again. So once you are here, you can drop a message so I will know that I know someone is online already. Just drop a message so that I will start. I've gone far already in the first video, but you guys said you are unable to join. I just hope this one will be better. I hope this will be better. Mm, mm. Okay, I don't have anybody here still. I may need to continue my reading now since you guys are not available. If you are here, please drop a message in the chat box. I have really gone far in the first video. I was talking about, I was doing some analysis of past questions from different years. And okay, let me try to share my screen now. Oh, no, 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 that's not where we are going. That is not where we are going. I'm going to. So I was doing some analysis of past questions from different years in the former video, but you guys were unable to join, so I think I will need to repeat myself just a bit. What I discovered from the different years that I downloaded and tried to work with is that question one is always compulsory, and question one is always from module one of the course material from the three different years and semesters. Yes, let me say years that I have analyzed so far. All the question one came from module one of the material, which is telling us something very important. We have to dwell, digest, understand everything discussed in in module one of that material. That's CIT 309. Look at this. This is 2025 first semester. I compared it with 2022 first semester. I compared it with 2024 second semester, and all of them, question one is always from module one. So we are starting with module one tonight, and it's a marathon reading. We need to go. Okay, I think it's Mary that is here. I will believe that you are a candidate of CIT309, right? Because if you are not doing CIT309, you are not in the right meeting. So the analysis has already given us the picture of what question 1 is likely going to be. There's a tendency that it will come from module 1. So we are starting our reading tonight from module 1. And that module 1 is dwelling. Mary, you are welcome. I can see you. And I hope you can hear me and you can see my screen. Kindly let me know if you are able to do that. And what is that module 1 that they always ask question from? And not only question, but compulsory questions. Question 1. The module 1 is all about the organization and architecture of computers. And it deals with three different things in three different units. We have computer organization and architecture in unit 1. Unit 2 talks about instruction sets, characteristics, and functions. And the last unit in that module 1 is types of operands. And if you are able to digest module 1 very well, now from what you have seen in the past questions, it means that you have a tendency of having 25 marks already from module 1 alone. So we have seen the skeleton. What we are likely going to be seeing in this module 1, what we'll be reading about in this module 1. We'll talk about organization and architecture of the computer. We'll talk about the organization, the instruction set, characteristics, and we'll talk about the types of operand. And so I'll start with the introduction. We're in the reading section, so we're going to read. All right, no problem, no problem. Good night. Good night, good night. So it is mainly for those who are doing CIT309. If you join the meeting and are not doing CIT309, please go and relax your brain and sleep. It's not for you. But if you are doing CIT309, you can let me know in the chat box so that I will know that I have someone here. I'm not the only one. So our research came up with the result that module 1 is very important because all question 1s from the different years that we have used for sample all came out in module 1. Now the introduction to module 1. In spite of the variety and pace of change in the computer field, certain fundamental concepts apply. Momiju, you're welcome. It's like you missed the analysis part when I was analyzing the past questions, but you've not missed anything. The only thing you've missed is that we find out that from the different past questions that we've used as samples, we've used 2025 first semester, 2024 first semester, 2022 second semester, and in all those three past questions, we find out that question 1 is always from module 1 and it's always important. They will say answer question 1. It's a compulsory question you must answer. So we can't run away from module 1. We need to read it and understand it. Different questions that we've seen from module 1, and we will not run from module 1. So that's why we're starting with introduction of module 1 tonight. And there are three things module 1 is talking about. It's talking about the topic of the module itself is the organization and architecture of computers. Those are the two things we want to understand in this module. But to understand that, it's been divided into 3 units for easy assimilation. The first unit will talk about computer organization and architecture. The second one will talk about instruction sets, characteristics, and functions. And the third one will talk about types of operands. So let's go to introduction. We won't rush because we need to understand this. If possible, there will be no need to read again before exam after this reading section. In spite of the variety and pace of change in the computer field, certain fundamental concepts apply consistently throughout. What this is just saying is that despite the fact that we are now having laptop, palm top, different type of computers coming out based on new architectural designs and the rest of them, there are some things that are unique in all of them. Whether the old box that they used to put on the table in those days, which we call desktop, or the laptops that we're using now, or the palm tops and all of that tops that we have in town now, there are some things that remain constant, that so long you are a computer, this thing must be inside you. That is what this statement is talking about. So to be sure, the application of this concept depends on the current state of technology and the price or performance objectives of the designer. Okay. Many computer manufacturers offer a family of computer models. Sure, like HP now, you see different designs, different types of HP computer in laptops, in desktop, different design. Even HP laptops alone, we have different models, different design, the higher version, the lower version, the medium version. So when you are going to buy a PC, even if it's HP you want to buy, in that HP alone, you will see different HP, different capacity, different models of HP. So all with the same architecture, but with difference in organization. What we are trying to say is, as we are seeing different types of computer, different type of PC in our current age, most of them may have the same architecture. Like, let's say we are talking about laptops now. The architecture of laptops may look similar across all manufacturers, but their organization, the way they organize operation in the system may be different. So in a class of computers called microcomputers, the class of computer called microcomputers, we are not doing e-exam again that we will need to be cramming this. We just need to know it, that the relationship between the architecture and organization is very close. That was one of those years that they asked this question, that you should distinguish between computer organization and computer function. So there are some points we should begin to digest from here. So the relationship between the architecture and organization is very close. So when we are talking about the way they design the computer, the architecture of the computer, the things that, like when you say the architecture of a building now, we may be talking about the foundation of the building, talking about the structure of the building. Is it a bungalow? Is it, a story building? Is it a flat? Is it face me or face you or whatever? Now we're talking about architecture in that regard. But we also have organization. So if this is a three-bedroom flat, for instance, the organization is, what are the arrangements done inside the building that makes the building a home to the occupant. So you know that structure and organization, they are very close. That's what they're trying to say, that the relationship, when we are talking about the computer architecture and the computer organization, we are talking about two close things. But changes in technology not only influence organization, but also result in the introduction of more powerful and more complex architecture, which means the the work of change in technology. Technology is always changing, it's dynamic in nature. What technology has done to computer organization, sorry, technology did not only influence, does not only affect the organization of computers. Like you see Windows 11 now, the organization of Windows 10 is different from the organization of Windows 7. Someone that is used to the way files, the way operations are being organized in Windows 7. When they brought out Windows 10 and they said Windows 7 is no longer supported, the person may find it difficult to adapt to Windows 10, which is having an entirely different organization and even the look and structure. So what they are not trying to say is that as much as change in technology is affecting the organization of the computer, it's also leading to something. It's leading to the creation of more sophisticated computer architecture or design, like you may say. However, because a computer organization must be designed to implement a particular architectural specification, a thorough treatment of organization requires a detailed examination of architecture as well. A thorough treatment of organization requires a detailed examination of architecture as well. What they are trying to say here is that since computer architecture must be designed to implement a particular architectural specification, since computer organization, the way they will, okay, let me just use this for an analogy to help us kind of get the image of what they are trying to say. If you are living in a two-bedroom flat, for instance, if you are getting three beds, like I'm not talking of foam now. If you are going to buy, you are living in a two-bedroom flat. If you are going to buy three beds, it means there is something that will happen in that house. It's either you turn your dining to a bedroom for to make it the third bedroom, or you are going to have one bed just folded up somewhere somewhere in the house, because the architecture of your house has been designed to only implement two rooms, two beds. If you are not taking in more than that, you have disorganization in that house. So consider a house that was built without gates, without fence, and no road access to the house. The owner of that house cannot bear to get a car at that time. If you get a car, then you must be ready to go and be parking the car somewhere, maybe in a friend's house or maybe in a car park, if there is a general car park in the area. That is the only way. So the reason why that is happening is because the architecture of his own house has not been designed to organize or to host a car. That is the picture we're trying to say here, that each architectural, each organization of of computer created, each organization is organized to implement a particular architectural specification. So if this is a laptop, it's going to work basically as a laptop, not a desktop. Now, a thorough treatment of organization requires a detailed examination of architecture as well. So if I'm buying a house, if all the property I have now is not more than, and I don't have the intention of expanding anytime soon, it's not more than what I can put in, let's say a self-contained house. You understand? If I am to rent a house, I will be looking at two things. The things I want to put inside. Will this house be too big and will expose me that I don't have property? Or do I have so much that I want to put in the house that I will need to go for a big house? That's what they're trying to say here. When we are treating organization, we must also be ready to talk in detail the architecture, because one is working hand in hand with the other. So we have an interconnected thing now, intertwined something. That's why they say from the beginning, if you remember from the introduction, that the concept of computer organization and architecture are very close, very close. It's just like talking about you as the human, your body, which is the physical figure that everybody can see, can relate with. And they say that this is Grace, this is Sam, that's your body that everybody can see now represents the architecture. That is the architecture of you. But inside that your body, there are so many things that make that architecture possible, that makes it function. That is when you have your intestine, your large intestine, your small intestine, your brain, the lungs, and everything that is organized working together inside you to make the structure, which is the architecture that we're seeing, to function. That is the same thing we're talking about here in this system. The laptop may be a laptop, but there are so many organizations inside that structure called laptop that makes it a laptop. Now, let's go to the objective of this particular unit we'll be talking about tonight. No rushing is a marathon class. We need to read, and if I will be reading this much, I don't think I will need to revisit this before exam. I just need to understand and digest it right now. So, uh, the objectives that we have in this unit. At the end of this unit, you should be able to, don't forget that this unit is talking about two things: computer architecture and computer organization, which means at the end of this unit, any question relating to distinguish between computer architecture and computer organization, or state the relationship between computer, anything that relates to archi and structure of the computer, I should be able to answer it, whether it's explained, briefly explained, distinguished, or whatever I'm being asked on this part. So, what are the things I should be able to do at the end of this unit? I should be able to explain the operational units of a computer system, things that make up the computer system. And I should be able to outline types of operands and operations specific by machine instructions. And that is something we've seen in one of the years I talk about operands, opcodes. There was one year that, okay, look at this, this is 2022 first semester. Look at it when they're asking about opcodes, arithmetic logic unit, choose component, complement notation. All these are in module one. They are in module one. Memory pipelining and the rest of them, they're all in module one. I want to even get that question that talks about distinguish. I think that should be here. Look at all these memory address register, buffer register, program counter. They are all, we'll soon get there now in this module one. So you should see that is a very important part of the material. Let us understand it when we are going through it tonight. And it's always carrying the best part of the question paper, always higher marks than the others. Enumerate, there is one place that talks about distinguishing between, I think it should be 2025 then. Fine. It says distinguish between computer computer function, we are going to do what we should know at the end of this unit. And the last thing we should know at the end of this unit is explain opcodes. This opcode was asked directly in one of the question one that we talked, I think that was in 2022. Look at it. This is the second part. They say briefly explain the following. What is an opcode? So this operation code that or opcode that we're talking about, I need to know what it is, because right now if you ask me what is opcode, I'm blank. I don't even know what it is. So I need to know it and be able to explain it. So knowing is not just enough, know the explanation. So let's go back to the material. 3 things at the end of this unit: explain the operational unit of a computer system, outline types of operands and operations specific by machine instruction, and explain opcodes, operands, and addressing modes. Computer organization and architecture. When we have finished digesting this paragraph, we should be able to distinguish between the two and give definitions if possible. Although it is difficult to give precise definition, a consensus exists about the general area covered by it. Computer organization refers to the operational units. Now we're talking of the organization. Don't forget what I likened it to the other time, like you, the human body. All your operational units inside you, they are the organization. They are the things that are organized together. That now makes your structure, which is the outer you that everybody is seeing, the physique, that makes the structure to function. So computer organization refers to the operational units and their interconnection that realize the architectural specification. What it means is that those organizations are the operational parts of the computer that makes the work of the architecture possible. So the architecture has been designed maybe to do graphics, to do video editing or whatever. Now, the operational part that will make that laptop to function as a laptop or a desktop to function as a desktop is the organization, and that is the computer organization. Operational units and their interconnection together. How is the CPU connected to the RAM? How is the RAM and the ROM connected to the motherboard? How is the arrangement of the motherboard, the power unit, the memory unit, the address, all those things that are inside the CPU of the computer or on the motherboard. How are they organized? Their organization is now how they are interconnected, how this cable or this wire goes from this unit to this unit, so that this unit and this unit can communicate together to now make the structure, which is the laptop I'm using now, to function the way it should, to do what it was designed to do, what it was designed to do. So again, I'm going to take the meaning of computer organization. It refers to the operational units and their interconnection that makes the work of the architectural specification of that system possible. So we are talking about the meaning of organization now. You see that we're not able to define it completely without mentioning architecture. That is why they say two of them are very close. It's just like talking about you that we are saying now without talking about the things that are inside you, your internal, organs. How your stomach is connected to your lungs that makes you eat and it goes to the stomach. How the large intestine is connected to the small intestine. That small intestine processes and take the good one, send the bad one to large intestine. How the anus is connected to the large intestine. So all those things, they are organization. This is connected to this, and at the end, it will make me as a man or you as a woman to function as the man I am or as a woman you are. That is the same thing we are talking about in the computer organization and architecture. One more time, computer organization refers to the operational units of the computer and their interconnection that makes the work of the architectural specification possible. You don't need to cram all those grammar. Just know that computer architecture are the operational units that works together hand in hand, interconnection. They work together. One is connected to the other. This one is connected. The motherboard is connected. Sorry, CPU is connected to the RAM. The RAM is connected to the maybe the ROM. The powerhouse is connected to this. This is connected to that. Their interconnection together, how they relate to each other, the operational unit of the system and their interconnection, how they relate to each other, that makes the work of the structure or the architecture. Let's use architecture to be more direct. The architectural, when they say specification, what it means is what the system, the one I am seeing, what it's supposed to do, what it's supposed to perform. It will only be able to perform it. A laptop will only be able to work as a laptop because of the operational units that are inside. When you lose it, you see them because of the operational units that are inside. And then those operational units are what we refer to as computer organization. And I think this explanation has made us digested. So if you are asked now, what is computer organization? You know what it is. It's not just cramming what is in the book. Now, you already know that those are the parts, units inside the computer that work together to make the computer work as a computer. So, operational units interconnected together that makes the work of the architectural specification possible. If you know this, you already know the meaning of computer organization. Now let's move on from there. Examples of architectural attributes include the instruction set, the number of bits used to represent various data types in terms of numbers and characters. That is the input or output mechanism and the techniques for addressing memory. All these are what we call the architectural specification. So sometimes when you go to get a new PC, you want to know some of these things. That's why sometimes we run this code, the X, the AG, to know what the PC is what is the speed, what is the memory, what is all those things. So something important was mentioned there, examples of architectural attributes of a PC. Those are instruction set, the number of bits used to represent various data on that PC, various data types. We have, already you know what data is. That is not something you need to start cramming now. We know that data is this, data is that. So data could be numbers, characters, and then the input and output mechanism used. The input and outputs that we have in your, whether we are using a laptop or a desktop, how does it output results to you? What are the means you are using to put things, data into the system, to your keyboard, wherever you are using? So that is for architectural attribute. But for organization attribute, we have the hardware details transparent to the programmer, such as control signals, interfaces between the computer peripherals, those are the physical part of the computer we can see, and then the memory technology that is used to design the computer. is we are now going to summarize this 3.1, the main content. And the summary is very straight. The summary is very straight. We've learned the meaning of computer organization from this place, and we've learned the examples of computer architecture and computer, what is it called now? Computer architecture and computer uh, organization for this with their attributes. For the attribute of the computer architecture, we have like the input and output mechanism. We have the various bits used to represent data types, and then the instruction set, and so on. And also techniques for addressing memory. How do they address memory to each operation that is going to happen? That one is, all those are under under the architecture, the attributes that showcase architecture. Then we've talked about the attributes that showcase organization too. That is when we talk about the interfaces. Understand? Then the interface between the peripherals and the memory technology. That one is mostly controlled by the programmer, the hardware details. So once I remember hardware details and interfaces, control signals, I already know about organization, the attribute of organization, or the organizational attribute of the computer. And when I remember uh, the other aspect I talk about, input and output mechanism, the number of bits used to represent data types, and of course, maybe the instruction codes and the rest of them, instruction sets, we are talking about the architectural attributes. So tonight, you should be able to, by now, you should be able to define computer organization, you should be able to differentiate between architectural attributes and and organizational attributes. Three things now that we should digest. No need for rushing. Three things to digest in 3.1. We likely end the meeting very soon so that people can rest. But if you can maintain this consistency, in no time before exam, we will cover all our courses. So, computer organization and architecture. And we've talked about the definition of computer organization, which refers to the operational units and the way they are connected together to make the architecture of the computer, the architectural work or specification possible. Then we'll talk about attributes of both the architecture and the organization. The attribute of architecture, that is when we have instruction set, we have the input and output mechanism, we have the types of bits or the bits that are used to represent the data types. When you are mentioning all those, what you are just saying is the architectural attribute. Then we'll go to organizational attribute. That is where we have what do we call it now? The basis for which the programmer, the hardware details, which is what the programmer used to view. It's a kind of lens for the programmer. Hardware details, the memory technology used, and of course the control signals, interfaces between the peripherals, the physical part of the computer you can see, and the memory technology used. All that are under the organization. So if I'm to put them side by side, I should be able to say these examples belong to architecture. These examples belongs to organization. And in conclusion, the meaning of computer organization means the operational units and their interconnection together that result in the architectural specification, in achieving the aim of the architectural specification. So I believe we've learned something very important. We'll still add this to it, and then we end the live section. We'll add structure and function. There was one question that asked you to differentiate between computer structure and computer function. So it means this next place we want to read is very important. Where is that question? There is one question that asked about structure and function. Yes, explain briefly. The functional no, that's not it. Okay, distinguish between computer organization and computer function. You know that we've talked about computer organization already. You know the meaning. It means the operational unit, and their interconnection together that makes the work of the uh, architectural specification possible. Now, what of the function? What if you are asked that question again in this semester, that you should distinguish between computer architecture and computer function? Now, what is computer function? We've not gotten there, and that's just what we want to do now. The structure and the function. What is the difference between the two of them? What are they? We need to digest that. I believe Mommy Gio is here, or you're out of the class. Okay, Mommy Gio is still here. So let's dwell on that and we'll end the class. So it means this part I want to learn now, structure and function. I should be ready to align it with organization, which we've defined earlier, so that when I'm asked to distinguish, I will know what they are asking me. Now, structure and function 3.2. A computer is a computer system. Contemporary computers contain millions of elementary electronic components. If you check the motherboard of a computer, you'll be confused. Different tiny things joined together, and you want to ask, what's the work of this one? What's the work of this one? So, what is the structure of a computer? The structure of a computer is the way in which the components are interrelated. When you open the motherboard, how the memory is structured to connect to the maybe the ROM, what am I saying? To connect to the CPU, the control unit, so the way I think we have the picture of a motherboard here. I would have shown us. If I should see a motherboard, how will I know that this is the power unit? This is the memory. This is the RAM. This is the disk. It's because of structure. There is a structure already that is universally agreed, accepted. That when I see it, I know that this is RAM, whether in desktop or in laptop. I already know RAM. When I see the hard disk or the SSD, for all these are modern laptops, they use solid state drive, which is the memory you call SSD. The olden days ones, they use the hard disk, that is the HDD, hard disk drive. So the structure is the way in which the computers are interrelated. Sorry, the components in the computer, the way they are interrelated, how that wire came from the control unit and enter the memory unit, and from memory unit enter another unit, and so they are interconnected together. That is the structure. Then the function is the operation of each individual component as part of the structure. When I say that the control unit is connected to the memory, and the memory may be connected to the RAM in one way or the other through a cyclic connection, that is structure. But when we remove the control unit on its own, what is the work of the control unit? control unit. That's when we talk about function. What is the work of the RAM? That's when we talk about function. What is the work of the ROM? That's when we talk about function. What is the work of the power pack, the power unit, the one that takes light into, or let's say charge or electricity into the system? That's when we talk about function. So while function is the operation of individual components that make up the structure itself is the interconnection or the relationship, how the individual components are related together. Structure, the function of each of them, what they do, what each of them perform as an individual component is function. When they are connected together, they become a structure. So it's just like saying the block and the building. Why the arrangement of block, connecting blocks together, you understand, will give us a complete building. What is the function of the block there? It's serving as, the raw material that will, let's say ingredient or whatever, that we use in raising the structure. It's the same thing here. The structure that will come up at the end of the day is that bungalow, that duplex, that 3-bedroom flat that you built. You understand? But what is the fun? Okay, let's not even talk about block. Let's talk about the structure, the duplex or the 3-bedroom flat. Then what is the function of the parlor or the sitting room? What is the function of the toilet? What is the function of, you see that each of them, they are components in the house. The sitting room is in the house, the toilet is here, the bathroom, the kitchen, and so on. But each of them is a component that has a function it is performing. But when they are connected together, we call them a building or a house, anything you call it. But in the house, we have functions of individual components. So what is the difference between the structure and the function of a computer, if you are asked? You see, POP, you just need to understand. Once you understand, it sinks. In exam, when they ask you, you almost want to fill the page because the thing is there. You know what you've read. You know there's this understanding. So, in conclusion, I can say that while structure is the connection, interrelationship, or interconnection of all the components that makes up the computer, the function, on the other hand, is the work each component performs. What each component performs, function. The connection of all those components together, structure. It's as simple as ABC. So that question in exam that was asking about the structure and the function. Okay, let's try to answer this question now. That was this year that asked about question 1A. Distinguish between computer organization and computer function. Why? Computer organization is the interrelation of all units or components that makes the function of, that makes the architectural design or functionalities of the computer possible. While the computer function, okay, let's not even go there. Let's just use the simple definition given to it. They say distinguish between computer organization. Computer organization can also be likened to that structure that we just read about now. So let's see the answer to this question straight and plain in 2025 first semester would have been that computer organization, whereas computer organization is the interconnection of all the components in the system, their relationship, their interconnection together. While computer function is the function, or so let's not even use function again, that makes it tautology, is the task that each component performs. So when you combine the two together, you have your system. This component is called CU, control unit. What is the work it do? That work it is doing is the function. But the CU itself is an organization, is a part of the organization of the computer, because it is connected to this other part of the computer, which is also connected to that other part of the computer. Then their interconnection becomes organization. Why what each of them is doing, like even though the CU is connected to the memory, what if I remove the memory alone? What is the work of the memory? Function. What if I remove the CU alone? What is the work of the CU? Function. That is why if something goes wrong with your computer, it is through the function that that thing performs that will make us know instantly what is truly going wrong with that computer. So if you should boot your computer now and you say memory not found or something, we already know the part of the organization that is faulty, because through the function that is not working well or malfunctioning, you already know that if a PC is behaving this way, then it is the memory that is having issue. So you see, by that, we already have 6 marks. You see how sweet it is now, because you understand it. That's 6 marks. That simple question. But it's only simple because you've read it. Now, so that is the difference between structure and function of a computer. Now, in terms of description, there are 2 choices: starting at the bottom and building up to complete description, or beginning with a top view and decomposing the system into the subpart. I will not go deep into this. We might likely start from this paragraph in the next meeting. Tomorrow is for another marathon class. It won't be CIT309. It's going to be another course that we are doing. So tonight we've talked about the meaning of computer architecture. We've talked about the examples of computer architectural attributes and computer organizational attributes. We talked about function and structure, and we've seen the difference between the two of them. So if in exam I'm asked anything about the definition of computer organization, I should be able to define it. Computer architecture, I should be able to define it. Examples of their attributes, I should be able to give them. And also I should be able to distinguish between computer function and computer architecture or computer structure. So we have done justice to one important part of this course material, and a very important part, because in all the previous past questions, not only this, even if you download all the rest, you find out that question 1 is always from module 1 in this course. I'm not talking, maybe when we go to other courses tomorrow, we'll do their own analysis too. We'll see where they are setting question 1 for. But for CIT309, question 1 has always been from module 1. So let's get ready. So thank you for holding on till this time. That's why it is marathon. We've tried enough already. We started since 12. Now this is almost 1 hour 30 minutes. Although it's little by little. By the time we build more energy, we can even go attending this meeting and do have a wonderful night rest. Don't forget what you've learned. computer architecture, computer organization, the attributes, the difference between the structure and the function. Have a wonderful night.